Today is a dark day, not only for me and my family, but the whole justice system. And they say that justice is blind and only rich can get the reward and poor are sent to the ghettos. After filing Chapter 7, trustee and their attorneys ganged up on me as well as on my wife's assets and acted like vultures to grab every dollar from us.
This is the story of a successful businessman who not only lost part of his family, but almost everything he had because he stood for honesty, integrity, and truthfulness. We know that the price of telling the truth is always very high, and Manny has paid it dearly in the form of harassment, threats, physical attacks, and legal intimidation through fictitious lawsuits which have put him at the edge of bankruptcy. Manzoor Memon was a victim of those who came after him, and he fought back and is still combating, but at what cost? Which makes you wonder if there really is justice for the poor in the society which is dollar-driven and only those who have money can prevail. This is the story of a one-man army who is fighting this war solo and expects to win because he thinks that the truth will prevail at the end. I now present to you Mr. Manzoor Memon.
See, in 2008, I wrote a book named Is Honesty the Best Policy? And it got very good reviews and people liked it because it was the first time somebody wrote the stories which people want to read it, but people did not dare to write it.
As soon as I started highlighting frauds, several people wanted to shut my newspaper and file lawsuits against me. The good thing was this courthouse, with all the judges, they told the plaintiffs that according to the First Amendment, this publication cannot be shut.
It is the responsibility of the media to point out the problems we have among our elected officials, so I don't really see any problem with that.
In today's time, when you talk about honesty, integrity, and truth, many laugh on you as if you are an alien in this society. Rich people with the power of their money control all the institutions, and there is no hope for the underprivileged, particularly when there's a question of justice for them.
Yeah. There's no basically justice for the poor people. That's bottom line. When you're poor, you're just like dead because money talks and bullshit walks in Texas.
With limited resources, he changed the public opinion and helped so many victims in their cases who could never get justice from this dollar-driven society.
In my 32 years of living in the United States, I have fought many cases, but most of them lost due to inadequate resources in rich and affluent companies as my opponents. I want to give you a few of those examples. Manzoor Memon versus Ford Company filed in the Justice of Peace Precinct 2, Position 2. In 1989, I purchased a new town car, and in 1993, while I was driving, and it was under warranty, its steering column got on fire. The ignition switch installed by Ford Company caused the fire and costed me about $4,326.81 to get it repaired. I filed the lawsuit to get that money, and the jury denied my claim. Ford Company's attorneys kept on arguing that this was a solo case. On April 26, 1996, Ford Company finally accepted their responsibility of the faulty ignition switch, and a class action was filed against Ford by Moore and Brown attorneys from Washington, D.C. This firm contacted me and used my case to get the matter settled, but cheated me of giving me any compensation. However, Ford Company settled the matter in a class action and recalled all 1989-90 Lincoln Town cars for replacement of ignition switch. I'm glad that though I lost money, but brought a consumer complaint which was finally addressed to save several vehicles and few lives too. However, there was no justice served as I was a pro se. So in a way, if you are poor, there's no justice for you. Card number 1999-33160. In May 1998, I purchased a Mercedes-Benz 300 SEL. This car was fully maintained and had only 70,000 miles when the engine housing fell on the road during a local commute. Luckily, I was not driving on a freeway that it did not cause a major accident. The engine housing was designed to be mounted on a frame secured by 4 bolts. One of the bolts failed to take the weight of the housing, which caused this incident. I contacted Mercedes-Benz North America Consumer Service, and I was asked to take the car to one of the dealer representative who made an arbitrary decision that this kind of problem had never occurred in the history of the manufacture of Mercedes-Benz, and it was a solo incident. I filed a lawsuit, and eventually it was tossed out by the judge based on the fact that the warranty was expired. I knew I did not have a chance to fight with top attorneys of Mercedes-Benz, but I wish the judge would have given some justice to me. Again, I could have hired an attorney, but it would have cost me a lot of money, so I decided to fight it on my own, and I failed. But in the similar case, in 1985, I bought a S10 Chevrolet pickup in which a transmission failed 3 times within first year. And one of my attorneys, when they wrote a letter to Chevrolet, they let me keep the vehicle without making any payments. And interestingly, after getting the transmission fixed a 4th time, I drove that car for more than 100,000 miles without no problem. Which means if you have an attorney, then the justice did not prevail. Otherwise, if you are poor, there's no justice for you. Cause number 954332, U.S. District Court, Southern District, Memon Corporation versus Baskin-Robbins. In 1991, I financed to build a Baskin-Robbins store for my brother. At the time when we were signing the contract with the Baskin-Robbins, they did not tell us that they were planning to put 32 more stores in Denny's restaurants in Houston. As soon as we opened the store, after 6 months, we found it out, Baskin-Robbins, corporate people installed 32 stores in different Denny's in Houston area, cutting down the sales of every store in Houston and Harris County. I filed a lawsuit against them for deceptive trade practice, lost it because my attorney, just 2 days before going to the trial, backed out, and I feel that he was bought out by Baskin-Robbins. And at the end of the day, we lost $165,000 in investment, and that we had to shut this store. But the good thing happened that after the case, Denny's and Baskin-Robbins closed all those 32 stores which were opened, and Baskin-Robbins Corporation lost about $3 million, but the justice was served for the people who are in business, and they are still in business, but we lost all our life savings in that deal. So the justice did not prevail, and though I had very good attorneys and they took a lot of money from me, but there was no justice for me. There's a case number H031944. This was also Memon Corporation filed against Baskin-Robbins, in which Baskin-Robbins refused to allow us to relocate our store. Again, we lost this case because we fought this case on our own, and the justice did not prevail, and we had to shut this store. Case number 9802073. This is the case I filed against the attorneys who failed to appear in the court, and just about 2 days before the case, we were told that they would not represent me, and we lost the case against Baskin-Robbins. Unfortunately, our report in the court, as well as to the Bar Association, did not bring any result, and we could not get any compensation from any attorneys, and all the money given to them went also in vain, and we lost the case. So again, even if you have attorneys, but if they are not honest attorneys, you don't get justice. Case number 688640, and several other cases were filed against me by an individual named Muhammad S. Akhtar, who we had helped to move and gave them a job and bought him a business with co-signing a $56,000 loan. and at the end of the day, they left the business and we lost about $160,000. But the poetic justice happened the few years later. Mohammad Saeed Akhtar was arrested by federal government on mortgage fraud. He was jailed and he was made to pay over $200,000 in restitution. So in short, there was a poetic justice done by God, but we lost good chunk of our life savings by helping this family, and but the justice did not prevail, and we have to spend a lot of money on attorneys, and we had to pay to the bank, and end of the day, over 200,000 was lost. Case number 688639. This case was filed against a check fraud thief, Rafiq Loya, who had defrauded many people in our community, and his Honesty the Best policy has featured him at least 5 times in the newspaper. But in 1996, he even cheated me by taking a $10,000 cashier check given to him for somebody else, and he cashed it and pocketed the money with forged signature. When we reported to the Houston Police Department Forgery Division, he was arrested, he was in jail for 3 days. A federal felon turned attorney, Altaf Adam, rescued him, and the judge gave him only 6 months probation, a slap on his wrist, and no restitution. And end of the day, we lost our $10,000, and he got away with money and with only probation. So the justice did not prevail for the people like us, when you don't have so many high-priced attorneys, and until unless we do not do stiff punishment for the criminals, the crime will continue, and the thieves like Rafiq Loya will flourish. So my request to the judges have been always that we need to put stiff penalties on these crooks so that they get away from the white-collar crimes. Here are the few recommendations and possible solutions which can offer some relief to underprivileged people encountering legal troubles. In criminal and financial fraud cases, restitution should be double the amount of the fraud to ensure that white-collar criminals don't repeat crimes. There should be no political contributions allowed in judicial races, which gives leverage to attorneys funneling money to judges. We should provide special legal protection to media who are exposing white-collar crimes to save the society from people like Madoff and Stanford. At the end of the day, my faith in the legal system is not very strong, as rich and famous buy out the justice through high-priced attorneys, and poor lose their last dollar to fight for justice. U.S. Supreme Court Justice Hugo Black once said, "There can be no equal justice where the kind of trial a man gets depends on the amount of money he has. If you don't have money, you do not have a chance. So there's no justice for poor." But at the end of the day, fighting for the right is very essential. If in the society you let bad things happen and don't fight it, then it means you are as bad as the criminals. So in the same context, Abraham Lincoln said very nicely, "I am not bound to win, but I am bound to be true. I am not bound to succeed, but I am bound to live by the light that I have. I must stand with anybody that stands right, and stand with him while he is right, and part him when he goes wrong." Today, I still feel on high moral grounds that I am right, that I stood for right. I preach and practice to do right, and right will prevail tomorrow. After every dark night, there will be the dawn, and there will be light, and I'm pretty sure the truth will prevail.